What's up? Hello, how's everybody doing? Welcome back to my channel and today's video, how to move on from heartbreak, how to get over heartbreak. What do? You're hurting, you're lost, you're angry, you're sad, you're confused. How do you get through that? Where do you even begin? A lot of you are very familiar, or a lot of you are very aware of what I have gone through. And I didn't share a whole lot of details because I really believe that personal details should be left to the people that are involved, who are part of the problem and part of the solution. So I didn't share a whole lot that was going on, but you guys knew that there was something going on. You knew that I was going through a very hard time in my life, and it was a breakup. It was heartache. It's not easy for anyone. I don't care who you are. Breakups, separations, they are hard. They are tough. It hurts. It's right here. And it's right here. I had started my own self-work it's about 2 years ago now. And I would say the official breakup for me was a little over a year ago. So I did spend a lot of time alone by myself, alone. So first, I should put out there that everybody's situation is different. Every person is different. How we process things, habits that we're used to, mental habits and mental choices and things that we act on are very instilled. Now, when you try to make change, it takes understanding, it takes awareness, it takes being vulnerable, it takes commitment, it takes work, time, and patience to get through and get over those humps, to get to a better place where you're feeling peaceful and happy and love again. Now, I'm just going to be sharing with you my own failures, my own successes, my own understanding, my own knowledge, things that I have done and applied to my own life that have only helped me progress forward. Now, these are things that you do not have to do. I can give you the best of the best advice. And I can lay everything out for you in plain, just simple, straightforward. But in the end, you are only always going to make decisions and choices for your own self, and what you do, that's going to dictate where you're going from this point forward. Let's face it, you guys, there's always going to be heartbreak. There's always going to be good. There's always going to be bad. There's always going to be sad. There's always going to be happy. There's going to always be upsets. There's going to be breakups. It's inevitable. Those things are happening because you are getting completely two different people with completely different perspectives, dynamics, pasts, childhoods that are coming together. And a lot of times you can actually help encourage each other. You can help heal each other. But you can butt heads, and a lot of things can interfere and a lot of things can conflict. So you always have to keep that in mind. We always go into relationships with trust, with the excitement. We're discovering something new. We're experiencing something new. It's exciting, and we do that, and we forget about all the problems in the world. We forget about our own problems, our own insecurities, our own past hurts, anything that has stemmed all the way to our childhood. We forget about those things. When we start something new, you just get so excited and so happy that is what your world revolves around. And once that wears off, and you start to get comfortable, then all those little past hurts and all those little insecurities, all those things that you didn't take care of, they start creeping back in. It can go for you, and it can also go for the opposite sex, your significant other, the one that you're starting a relationship with. And then things start happening, certain behaviors or certain words or certain experiences or certain situations trigger those past hurts, trigger those insecurities, trigger things that were left untaken care of, that were buried deep inside, and boom, they blow up in your face. You either will react on that for yourself or towards the other person, and vice versa. Then it starts creating the problems again. And it happens to every single one of us, and it happens to every single one of us that do hide from past hurts and insecurities and problems and not face them. They will come back up. But we're going to start from, any of you that are going through, there might be a lot of you who are in an amazing relationship right now. You guys have figured it out. You're doing great. You and your significant other are doing amazing. You're working through all your problems. You've worked through your own personal problems, or you're currently going through heartbreak, or you're currently going through heartbreak right now, or you're currently trying to figure out what to do with your significant other. Stay together, break up, move on, let go. What do you do? So we're going to start at this present moment, whatever you're going through, whatever's going on in your life. And we're going to take a few steps back. Your most recent relationship, whatever happened into it, any of the problems that arose, any of the problems that you're facing right now is not something new. It is just a different situation. It's a different person. But you could have already had this same repeated situation happen in the relationship before, or with a significant other, or even with a relationship with just someone in general. And it keeps going back as far back down to being a child. Yes, majority of what we have, what we carry into our adulthood, or whatever age you currently are right now, we carry it from childhood. We're just going to do two very basic and simple examples of families and growing up and how you were raised. You got two families. You got one who was very affectionate, very intimate, very communicative, and that's how that family worked. We had this family over here who did not communicate very well. There was very distant. There was a lot of turmoil. There was a lot of distance in that family. You got these two families. This is what you grew up in. This is what you were used to. This is what you felt is comfortable and what you felt is normal. This is what your family did. You were raised that way. And keep in mind, every single family, we all do the best that we can with the knowledge that we have. And again, how your parents were raised and how your parents were raised. This goes on from generation to generation. So you come from these families, you grew up, you're in adulthood. Think of two people come from two completely different families. They meet. It's all great at first, but when it gets comfortable, problems arise, things that need to be addressed. What happens? This person who came from a family who did not communicate, who either just decided to avoid confrontation, was very distant. And then we have a person over here who did not avoid confrontation, who communicated, who tried to connect. See, these two people, when the situation happens, this person's like, I'm not gonna, no confrontation, I'm not gonna talk. This person's like, why are you talking to me? This person's like, you're crazy, why are you so needy? So you can see there's such huge dynamics that play in relationships overall. Most of us we think now, we don't think about how we were raised, what we're comfortable with, what we're used to, the habits, the mental habits and the methods and the ways that we do things. We don't think about that. We just think, oh my gosh, this person's crazy. What's wrong with them? So my point is you always are going to have such completely different perspectives when it comes to relationships. Instead of only thinking your way is the best way, you gotta be sensitive to your own needs, and be aware of your own perspective and also the other person. Right there, if you are that way, if two people are willing to meet halfway and be understanding and aware and sensitive of that, you're going to have better communication. You're going to work through problems so much better. You're going to be able to handle the situation appropriately. You're going to be sensitive to that person's needs, that they might have a little issues with communicating and distance, but you're going to work with that. And this person's aware that you are very communicative and that you do like to be very connected, and that person's going to be very sensitive to that, and you're going to work together. Keep that in mind, especially when it comes to relationships. Instead of jumping from one to another and being like, oh my gosh, these people are horrible, they're baggage, drama, oh, that person's messed up, and you're just thinking that all these people are horrible and you're never going to have a good relationship, that the world is just horrible place. It's not that. It's just we lose ourselves. We lose ourselves, and then all we do is focus on the other person and their problems and their issues that we aren't being sensitive to, that we are all struggling. We're all trying to find our way in this life, that we all have different perspectives and the way that we process and handle things. So think think of, you know, how you were raised. It stems from childhood and you carry all this into your adulthood. Now, when problems happen in relationships and people make mistakes, people fall short in meeting needs in certain aspects, and then it creates problems. You're either fighting all the time, or you do break up, or someone makes a mistake and hurts the other person. You know, instead of freaking out and being like, it's all your fault, I'm pointing out all your faults, you're a horrible person, you did this to me. You know, it takes two people in a relationship. This person and how they respond, how they act, how they choose, and how this person responds, how they act, and what they choose. It all ends up coming together. Now, some people might make way more worse mistakes and decisions than someone else. Someone else's might be a little bit of a smaller mistake and a smaller issue, but no one person is better than the other. But that doesn't give an excuse, and it does not make give somebody the right to bash someone, to tear them down, to try to ruin their lives, because in the end, all you're doing is destroying yourself. You're not going to be proud of what you've done. You're going to feel guilty, and you're going to carry that on with you into the next relationship. Then you're going to have your own insecurities from that, and your own fears from that, and how you treated this person and how you treated, and then what you got in return, how you feel about it. We carry this on, and it goes on and on and on. Then we end up in this repeated cycle, and it's new relationship, new situation, but it's just a repeated pattern of what you did in the past. So let's say we come down to, if you and that other person are not going to reconcile, and you are not going to try to work through, maybe see a counselor, have therapy, marriage counseling, whatever it is, if you are going to separate, this is very crucial in the steps that you need to take for yourself. Keep outsiders out. You need to keep your private details to yourself, and only the people who are part of the problem, who created the problem, who are in the problem and part of that solution. You do not need to be going and airing all your dirty laundry out on every social media platform. You do not need to be bashing that other person. You do not need to be talking about it at all. Why? Because you're already in emotional turmoil. You're already upset, you're already angry, you're already trying to understand your emotions and trying to understand what happened, what went wrong. When you start adding in other people who are not living your life, who are not you or that other person, who are just completely outsiders, you're involving in other opinions, other judgments, and other emotions, and which probably are stemmed off those people's own insecurities, their own anger, their own frustrations. So you're going to be getting such a construed view, perspective, and opinions on what you should do, and it's going to only create more confusion, more chaos, and you're already confused and hurting state. I know this from my own experience, and I learned from it when sharing too much information and then not sharing any information, keeping it to myself. And I learned that keeping it to myself and working on it myself and through myself was a much better option. It ended so much better than versus sharing too much information. And plus, you do not owe anyone an explanation. If they are not you or that other person or part of the problem or the solution, you do not owe anyone an explanation. And people, they need to learn respect. They need to learn to stay out of other people's business. When you have too many people and too much chatter in your head, you can't hear your own self think. You can't even find your own path, your own direction. You can't even begin to do that, because you have so many people telling you what to do and different opinions, when really what it comes down to, what do you need to do for you? What is going to make you happy? What is the direction that you need to go? Obviously, only you in your situation, you know what people need to be in that circle and what people don't. But people who aren't even who don't even know that anything's going on, do not need to be pulled in. And it's okay to tell people, no, this is too sensitive. I do not want to discuss this. Please respect me. I do not want to discuss my personal life right now. I hope you can respect me and my choices. It's okay to tell people that. You don't owe anyone anything. Do it for yourself. A lot of times, especially for women, Men, not so much. Men are a little bit more simple when it comes to things. Women, my like elders say this to me. If you guys haven't heard this, they say men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti. Men are very just straightforward, very simple. They just here, it's here, it's here, it's here. It's very black and white. Women, we're like, everything's intertwined. We think about over here, we think about here, we think this, and it all goes here. And it's just like, and that's very, very true. If you're very aware of yourself as a woman, you know that we can multitask and we can pull everything in so much, and we manifest these things and overcomplicate things. And when men, it's just very like, what just happened? I actually did about 3 or 4 years ago, I took a course that was called Love and Respect, and it's the differences between men and women and the needs that we have. I learned a lot about the opposite sex, and I learned a lot about how men think and about women think, and it's very basic. It's very straightforward. It's just kind of putting it into perspective and kind of reminding us, men and women. But I will actually put the information down here of that course that I took. So if any of you are interested in taking that, I highly recommend it. It was such a great help, and everything that I actually learned from that, I still apply to this day. So we got to keep in mind, men, women, we process things completely different. Women, a lot of times we make the mistake of thinking that what's going on in our head right at this moment when we're hurting and we're thinking about all these things. We're thinking about past, present, future, and we're thinking, why don't men understand? Why are they not upset like this? Why are they not doing this? And why aren't they responding this way? And we make that mistake of thinking that men are thinking the exact same thing that we're thinking at that moment. And in reality, they're not. Men and women, we're wired completely different. Next time you're sitting and you're just like, I don't understand why he's not doing this and this. He's not thinking the way you're thinking. He's not processing the way you're processing at that moment. It's just how it is. So we've got to be aware of that. We've got to be sensitive to that. When you go through a breakup, you just want to make their life a living hell. You want the world to know how angry you are and how hurt you are. And you just want you want that person to feel. You want to put so much suffering on them because you want them to feel the way that you're feeling. You got to think, most people, they might hide it really well, but that other person, they're having their own suffering too. They are hurting too. It's not just you. Some people are just better at hiding it. On the outside looking like, oh, they're doing great. Look at me over here. I'm just, oh my God, my life's a mess. But look at them, they're doing great. But in reality, that person's hurting too. Some people like to actually shove it in other people's faces and be like, I'm doing great, look at me. But I really am not. Because behind the scenes, we don't see behind the scenes of a lot of people unless someone's out there, shoving it out there for everyone, the world to see. We do not see people when they're by themselves, when they're in private. So quick to point out that everybody else has the problem. Everybody else is evil. Everybody else is the bad person. I don't do anything wrong. And that typically happens a lot with a lot of people, especially when you're hurt. All you're focused on is your hurt, and you're like, how could this person do this to me? They are just evil. You guys got to remember that every single one of us, we all are struggling. We all have our own hurts, and we're trying to find happiness, and we're trying to make our way through this life. Is hurting, and this person's hurting, and it's just like, you just butt heads, and all it does is it's just creating more hurt and more turmoil, more anger. There is nothing good out of it. And we all make mistakes. We are all at fault. We all do things that we're not proud of. Each and every one of us, we make choices that are not good choices, and we do things to other people. We know the difference between right and wrong, and we know what we're doing when we're doing it. If you are sitting there and saying, you know what, I am the most perfect person and I don't do anything wrong, and then you're probably the most guilty person of all. I know from my own self, I've made plenty of mistakes in my life. I've done a lot of things that I haven't been proud of, and at the time I didn't see them until later, and then I was like, oh, why did I do that? I've even had people approach me and been like, you know what, you did this and that wasn't very nice, or this hurt, and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. We need to learn how to be compassionate, and we need to learn to be humble in where we come from. We've all have been hurt, and we all have hurt somebody. So next time that you get hurt, you know, take a step back and be like, you know what stemmed that? Why did that person do that? And why did they react in that way? Was it something I said? Was it something I didn't do? Was it something I did? And it could be very minute, but it was something that triggered that person's upset, and then they might have responded, maybe not in the right way. But that's how it goes in relationships in life. And it's a matter of humbling yourself and being like, you know, coming to the person and communicating with the person and being like, you know what? I see why you're upset. I understand why you're upset because I did do this, but also, you know, how you responded to it, that caused me to react this way. So when two people can humble themselves and come and admit to both their own faults and they're aware of that, you're gonna have you're gonna be able to resolve things so much better. You're gonna feel so much better. There's not gonna be all this hate and resentment towards each other and this constant battle. You know, it doesn't mean that you're ever gonna have fights or arguments, but you're gonna better work through them together, and it's gonna bring you closer, and it's gonna help you understand the person better. You're learning more about yourself, and you're also learning more about people. And the more you do that, again, it's another step in your healing. It's another step progressing forward. And instead of just living in the past and living in the hurt and constantly going on this hamster wheel, and you got to face the reality of the situation and what happened and understand why it happened that way. And it starts with you. You got to understand your own self too. And then you're going to start to understand people better too. And this is probably, this one gets you. We've got to stop focusing on the other person. Yeah, you got hurt. You guys, someone made a mistake. Someone broke up. You guys are separated. You guys are moving on. You're going this way. He's going that way. She's going this way. He's going that way. That's it. You guys aren't like this anymore. You guys are like this. Now it's time. You need to start focusing on you. Stop focusing on that other person. Stop spending all your time and energy to know what they're doing, where they're going, who they're talking to, using social media to investigate, to always constantly be knowing what that person is doing. That person's not in your life anymore. You need to stop because you are not doing yourself any good or anyone else. And again, you're creating your own suffering, you're creating your own hell, and you're not moving forward. You're actually living in the past. Most of us are very guilty of that. We live in the past. It's hard. I know. I've been there. I've been there. So not even of my own recent breakup. I've been there with several breakups. We live in the past, and we have a really hard time letting that go. That is probably one of the hardest things to do, to let go of the past, to let go of the attachment that you have to that person and to that past. We sit there and we hold on to something that's no longer serving us, that is no longer there, and we're holding on to this idea of something. It's all up in here. And stop trying to make that person's life miserable. Stop trying to destroy that person's life. I know women, we are very, very guilty of this. We do this, women. You want to look back on your situation and be proud of what you've done. Not feel guilty, not have regret. I can say for my own self, and hopefully for a lot of you out there, and a lot of you who are about to do something that you might regret, that you know is wrong, I am so proud that I never acted on all of the negative things that I wanted to do that were up here that I was manifesting. I am so proud of myself for not acting on any of those. I can genuinely look back and say I am proud. I'm so proud of myself for sticking to my morals and taking the higher road and making good decisions, because the decisions you make, the choices that you make, everything is going to dictate where your life's going to go, how it's going to be, and how you're going to feel. You need to let go of that person and that relationship. It takes time. It takes time. But you need to keep telling yourself every day that I'm going to let go. I'm going to move on from this. I am focusing on me now. Some of us have built habits already of either investigating social media or acting on our emotion and trying to be vindictive and trying to hurt another person who's hurt us. Sometimes those are habits that die hard, and we naturally, sometimes we don't even think about it and we just do it. We just react. So those are habits that are going to take time to change, but they can change. And it's a matter of being aware of them, understanding them, and being like, ooh, yeah, I have a problem with that, but I want to change it. You know, write them down, write down. Sometimes if something happens, if you do slip up, write it down and be like, oh, okay, I did this. This is how I responded and reacted when this happened. You're better aware of it and you have a better handle of it when something presents itself again. You're gonna be like, oh, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? You're gonna have that little angel and devil on your shoulder. Well, what am I gonna do? What am I gonna do? And then you choose, then you go from there. Sometimes you're gonna slip up quite a bit and you're gonna be upset and you're not gonna be very proud of yourself, but that's okay. That's part of learning. That's part of growing. That's part of evolving. So if you're aware of it, that's the first step right there. So focusing on you and what you need to do to move forward and staying present. You gotta not think of the past and not think of the future, what's gonna happen. Because a lot of us are like, but I love that person and I wanted my life with them. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. No, my future's ruined. It's shot. You guys, I know how you're feeling. I was in a 10-year relationship and I literally was like, I know exactly how my life's gonna go. I know exactly who I'm gonna grow old with, and I created a life with somebody. I was so set on that. Things happen. Things happen that you never, ever would thought would happen. You never thought you'd break up, but they happen. You can't be stuck on something that is no longer there, that is you're no longer committed to, or that person's no longer committed to you. And that was my biggest lesson, was learning, oh my God, everything that I thought I knew and I thought I was gonna be, I don't even know anymore. I questioned everything. I know how it goes. I know exactly what's going through your head and what you're thinking. But that's where I was like, okay, I need to figure this out. I need to find clarity on if this is the life for me. Do I want this life? Do I need this life? I had to ask myself those questions. Is this person for me? And am I for them? And that was part of the self-work, was finding clarity on where I wanted to be in life and moving on from that, since it was no longer going to be.
Strangers on the run, looking for something, chasing the sun.